Hi everyone, Daniel Plainview here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of drinking your milkshake. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Murder by Death album, Spellbound. Okay, so reviewing a band that you have no prior knowledge of is kind of a bit of a blessing and a curse. I mean, it's always fun to go into something with no preconceived notions or ideas as to what you should be expecting, but it's also kind of a very naked and vulnerable feeling. You keep kind of asking yourself, am I enjoying this? Am I listening to this correctly? Do I understand what these guys are all about? And kind of like, how can I justify my opinions if I don't know jack about them? I think, though, ultimately going into this album by Murder by Death definitely fell into the fun side of experiencing the new for me. I wasn't expecting what I got from the name of the band, though, which, to my mind, when I saw it, conjured up images of, like, post-hardcore, screamo, thrash metal, kind of sort of a, we are Murder by Death, and we're here to make you think about death and get sad and stuff, etc., etc. Instead, to my amateurish and newly formed ears, I would, I suppose, describe this album as a sort of a melodic Johnny Cash doing a musical interpretation of the movie There Will Be Blood. Kind of. This is like cigar smoking, whiskey drinking, porch music while the sun sets down on your ranch, swaying gently on a swing seat whilst you watch the cattle graze and the smells of log fires burning from the cabin behind you. I guess. It's really enrobed in a great thick atmosphere with this darkened and gothic Americana, and I really love it. I first heard of this band from Notes Review's Twitter page, where they spoke pretty favourably about this record, and a pretty casual search of my streaming service of choice activated my primitive monkey brain when I saw the album art and thought, ooh, pretty. Once I saw the unintimidating runtime of just shy of 40 minutes, it cemented within me to give it a go, click play. So, headphones went on, lights went off, and all distractions were removed, as frankly all music should be experienced for the first time. What an experience this was, though. Very good. Okay, so let's just back up a second before I start a gushathon. Just who are Murder by Death? They're a 5-piece band from Indiana, and they take their name from a Robert Moore film from the 1970s of the same name. I kind of always enjoy it when a band gets their name from another piece of media, like Between the Buried and Me, Judas Priest, The Killers, etc., etc. It's a nice bit of fun and kind of helps me to remember the band a bit easier. Currently consisting of, watch me butcher the names, Adam Turler, Sarah Balliet, Dagan Thogerson, David Fountain and Tyler Morse, they've been recording as Murder by Death since 2002, and Soulbound is their 9th studio release, which is really exciting for me, as it means I've got this whole smorgasbord of back catalogue stuff to explore in the future, which is excellent. It's actually kind of surprising to me that this is the first I've heard of the band, given that their music is precisely the kind of stuff that I need after a long day at work. At least off what Soulbound has shown me anyway. I look forward to a deep dive on this band in the future, and hey, who knows, maybe I'll get around to doing one of those album ranking videos someday. Who knows? So yeah, anyway, the music, yes, music. God, yeah, this is such a lush-sounding album. The bass and guitar work just sounds so impeccable on this, and Adam Turler's Johnny Cash-esque vocals really cut across the top incredibly well. The first half of the record is some pretty standard folk country stuff, but it's done with a considerable amount of aplomb, but it's really the second half of the album where things kicked into gear for me on this release. Riders, Incantation, When, I'll Go, and Strange Song is such an incredible run of tracks that it's hard to think of much else that's stronger this year. And frankly, if the whole record was of this sort of quality, I'd find myself close to running down to the local tattoo parlour to make a snap decision. Riders comes at you with this rather typically country western lyrical theme of horses, and I found myself thinking, okay, yeah, country, cowboys, woo. But then this musical breakdown happens about 2/3 of the way through, and frankly, I found myself slack-jawed with amazement. It's a wonderful moment. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, but you'll know it when it happens. And it really does feel like the album has stepped up a notch from here on out. The big standout of the album for me is the following track, though, Incantation. I keep finding myself endlessly humming End of Days, End of Days in a lot of my spare moments. It's so catchy. It's got such a sinister and beautiful anthem feel to it, though, that really sticks to you like glue. It's this massive molasses-like dirge that really makes me feel kind of anxious and overwhelmed, but kind of in a good way, I suppose. And really, it's hard to think of a bigger earworm from anything else released last month. The final 3-hit combo of When, I'll Go, and Strange Song ends the album magnificently, with some really beautiful poetry in the lyrics, fantastic instrumentation, and some really hard-hitting melodies. It's such a treat to hear this kind of music for the first time on Spellbound, and I kept coming back to these songs time and time again, rapidly filling up my Last FM charts this past week. But the album isn't without faults. As mentioned already, the back half of the album is absolutely stacked. But for me, the same isn't quite true of the first half, which I think takes until at least Everything Must Rest until it really finds its footing proper. On a long record with much more tracks, having the first 2 songs not quite hitting it for me isn't really a big deal. But there's only 9 songs on Soulbound, and for nearly a quarter of them to kind of just be there is a little bit of a problem for me. I mean, let's just back it up here. It's not that they're bad songs, though. Far from it. They're still perfectly good. But I found myself idly humming or singing parts of every other song in the shower, or concentrating on work, or cooking dinner. But Get Up and Never Be just haven't gelled with me as well as the rest of the album has. It's a minor criticism, though, as Soulbound honestly remains an enchanting listen. But again, I feel I need to complain a tiny bit more, as I do feel that the album is a tad short at just shy of 40 minutes. I don't know if it's because of my prog sensibilities, but I've always felt that the perfect album length is in the sort of a 50+ range, as I do feel that this allows for so much more expression of ideas and sounds than anything shorter than that, especially when you enter into the sort of 30 to 40 minute range. It feels a bit like, was that it? I mean, come on, I've listened to songs longer than this album. But, I mean, that's definitely a me problem, though, and not something that's really fair to levy as genuine criticism at the band. I like long records, and Soulbound isn't one. What it does give us, though, is very high quality, but I'm just a greedy old sod and kind of just wish we had a couple more songs before it all ends. So, I mean, what else can I say about Soulbound? I went into this album with precisely 0 expectations, and walked away from it impressed enough that I felt like making this video to talk about it. And if that's not enough of a recommendation, then frankly I don't know what is. Ultimately, Soulbound serves as a fantastic entry point for Murder by Death, and certainly engaged my attention for long enough for me to want to check out the rest of their pretty extensive back catalogue. I don't feel this is a perfect record, as there's still a few nitpicks I have with it, mostly due to the strangely backloaded nature of the album, and just wishing for another few songs just to round it out a bit more. But Spellbound left me, well, at times spellbound. And I think you owe it to yourselves to give this a listen, regardless of what's in your usual wheelhouse. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so tell me what you thought of this record in the comments below. If you have anything you've listened to this year you think that I should check out, let me know about it. I might get around to giving it my own thoughts. If you like this video, please do thumb it, share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it, and, as always, please do consider subbing for some more content. Until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.